Fight men were total lie.
Creepypasta story, The Evil Twin Within. It was long ago. I can't really remember when this started. I was pretty young, 7 or 8 years old I think. My parents broke up. I was really sad about it. It haunted my dreams all the time. I was always hoping that my father would come back. He never did. Years later, I was going into my father's house for the weekend. In the house, there were a lot of people. My father, my stepmother, and her 2 girls. They got married and had 2 children, a boy and a girl. They always loved me for everything I did for them. Every time that my father and her wife were quarreling, I was here to take care of the little ones. And then, that day happened. I remember that it was a Sunday. Everything was normal. We had to go to the swimming pool, but that day I was really sick, so I asked my mother if I could go anyway, but she told me not to. My stepmother caught me calling my mother about that. She was very angry at me for some reasons that I still cannot understand. She yelled at everyone to calm down, even her children. She was quarreling with them, even the kids. They were terrified. And then she was insulting me because of what happened that day and some other days, like I told my mother what was happening in my father's house and she didn't like it. She was yelling at me. I was terrified. She even insulted my grandfather that died a few months ago. I was so scared and mad at the same time. All I wanted to do was taking a knife and stab her. I didn't do it, of course. My father didn't protect me and was making fun of me because I was terrified. He was laughing at me out loud. All that I could feel was fear and nothing else. I remember that time when she was in the house one night. I was knocking at the door, but she didn't answer me. So I came back to my mother's house in the rain during the night with my 3 heavy bags. When I came back home, my mom was terrified and angry at my father because her wife didn't open to me. That's why I started to fear her. So this Sunday, after that terrifying day, after all of the yelling, my mom got me back in her car. I was crying and I told her why. We came back at home. I didn't feel normal, like myself. I went on the internet and searched for things that I can't remember. But all I wanted to see was horror, bloody stuff, and creepy things like creepy videos and movies, even that I was a bit afraid of them. I didn't know why. I never had that type of feeling before. And then, the next night, I wasn't completely myself. I stood up and went to the kitchen. I grabbed a knife and I was staring at myself in the mirror. "This is the only way to stop the pain," I said. And then, with the knife, I started to cut my cheeks and lips. There were blood everywhere. My eyes weren't mine. It was something else, but I didn't know what. Days after, my mom started to be scared of me, and I enjoyed that. I tried to kill some friends, but I failed. A long time after, I cut the neck of one of my friends, but she stopped me from killing her. And we talked gently about that. We were sitting in front of a wall, and we were talking about it. She wasn't mad at me for some reason. She said that it was better to let my mother know of what I was doing, like cutting myself and sleeping with a knife. I did. I told her. She was creeped out. She couldn't say anything. I asked her if she was okay to let me go to the psychologist, and she accepted. Some days after I went to the psychologist, I was myself again. Everything was good, funny, and enjoyable. Nothing was sad or creepy anymore. These things were gone, but not for long. A month after, I started to realize that old memories came back into my head. It was hurting me so hard that I couldn't think right. There was also a voice. It wasn't mine, but it looked like it. It was like a broken voice of my voice, telling me over and over that it wasn't the end of the nightmare. I didn't know what she was talking about at that time. And then I started to have hallucinations about things that I couldn't describe. Those were very blurry. She was constantly talking to me. It was pretty annoying. Then I started to ignore it, but it was very loud in my head. I didn't know what to do. I even asked friends, but they couldn't help me for anything. I was lost a bit. I started to realize that she wasn't fake. She was real, really in my head. She was like a different soul, and she asked me to give her a name. I called her Leah Woods. Leah was studying for the English version of my name, and Woods was standing for a Creepypasta character that was created on the internet, and that was because of him that I cut in my lips and cheeks, because he did that too, and I was a bit in love with him. Now I don't know why I loved him so much, because he's freaking creepy and not human. A serial killer would be a better term for it. Later on, I started to accept her as being my evil side kind of thing. But I know she's not done yet, waiting for the perfect time, hiding inside for now.